welcome back everyone. Next game we're playing is called Mage Knight. Let me start by saying that this game is pretty awesome. I've played 2-player and I've played solo, and I think the solo game is one that I'm going to keep coming back to, because I think with 2-player you need quite a lot of time, and you need to sit down and devote some time to it. But with a solo game, you can take as long as you want, you can be as quick as you want. There's so much to do. Watch the playthrough, you'll see. It's if you like this kind of stuff, even remotely, by the end of this playthrough series, you'll be wanting to get your hands on this game. So sit back and enjoy. Right, for our solo game, we're going to play this guy. He's called Tovak. And we need to get his shield tokens, and we need to set them up on the fame and reputation track, placing them on the 0 spots. This is the board around which the rest of the game will be placed. So we're going to place our token on 0 fame and 0 reputation. I've just finished shuffling the enemy and ruin tokens. We're going to stack them in their respective piles, and we're going to place them above the fame and reputation board here. So these tokens will represent the different enemies and ruins that we'll encounter during our adventure. Right, the next things we set up are the spells deck, the wound pile, and the artifact deck. When playing solo, you have to remove the interactive spells from the spell deck, and these are cards 17, 18, 19 and 20. So these go back in the box. We place these decks here face down. And we give them a shuffle. Spells, wounds, artifacts. The next deck to set up is the Advanced Actions deck. When playing the first walkthrough mission, the rules suggest that we remove cards 17 through to 28. So like the spell deck, it was 17 up. And we place these back in the box. So this is our shuffled Advanced Action deck. The next decks to set up are the unit decks. There's 2 unit decks. There's a regular unit deck with silver backs, and there's an elite unit deck. The cards have gold backs. For the walkthrough, we won't be using the elite units, so these gold backed cards go back in the box. This is where our shuffled regular unit deck goes for the game. As part of the setup, we create what is called a unit offer, and we do this by drawing cards from the unit deck. We need to draw as many cards as there are players plus 2. So we're playing single player, we draw 3 cards. So these 3 units will go into and form the unit offer for the start of the game. One thing to look out for when you're creating your unit offer in the setup is that at least one of these cards has a village icon. These 3 units in the offer are fine because at least one of them has this little house symbol here, which represents a village. Next part of the setup is to place the day and night round board. Mage Knight consists of multiple rounds, and each round is either daytime or nighttime, and which side of the board you're on reflects whether it's daytime or nighttime. And we'll place this here for the setup. These are the mana dice. There's 7 mana dice that come with the game. We only need 3 dice for a solo game. The rules tell us we use 2 dice plus the number of players in the game. As part of our setup, we're going to roll these dice and place them on the day card. We have a gold mana, a white mana and a blue mana. We've placed the mana dice on the right hand side of the day-night card. This is called the source. On the left of the day-night card is the movement cost of the different terrain which we'll travel through. During the game we can use dice from the source for their mana, and mana will allow us to overcharge some of our abilities. You'll see this in action when we start the game. These are the tactic cards. There's 6 tactics for daytime and 6 tactics for nighttime. The nighttime ones will be unused for now, so we'll place them here face down. These are the daytime tactics. At the start of a round, we'll get to choose one of these tactics, and this will give us a special effect for the remainder of the round. We'll place these face up here for now. The next thing we do is set up the tile deck that we'll use for the adventure. The scenario we're playing is called First Reconnaissance, and it tells us we need to use side A of the start tile. There's a small A in this corner. It also tells us we need to use countryside tiles 1 to 8, so we can get rid of tiles 9, 10 and 11. These tiles also have a small number in the corner. So we'll put tiles 9, 10 and 11 back in the box. The countryside tiles can be distinguished from these core tiles by the colour of their backs. For First Reconnaissance, we need to sort the core tiles into tiles which contain cities and ones which do not contain cities. Our city tiles and our non-city tiles. Now we have to randomly choose one city tile and randomly choose 2 non-city tiles. We take these together and we shuffle them, and this forms the basis of our tile deck. The countryside tiles then sit on top. We place our tile deck here. Now we can set up the starting map, and we begin with our start tile, tile A. We're going to draw 2 tiles for the first scenario, and we're going to place them here, number 1 and number 2. This is how we place our starting tiles, number 1 and number 2. These are the Alt Khan symbols, so we need to draw enemies with this symbol on the back of the enemy tokens and place them face up on the board. So we go to our enemy token piles and draw from here. This is a digger, and he goes here. The second one is a cursed hag, and he goes here. The next thing I want to show you is the setup of the player area. This is our hero card. He represents our character. The first thing we're going to need to set up our character is the pile of level tokens. We place these in numerical order. We follow 9 to 10, 7 to 8, 5 to 6, 3 to 4, 1 to 2, and then there's one that's blank. And we place them here on our hero. This number 2 represents our armour, and number 5 represents our hand limit. This blank one here represents a command token. The next thing we need is our deed deck. Each player in the game starts with a set of 16 cards. I'm playing Tovak, who has this circle emblem. All the cards in our starting deed deck have this emblem on them. We shuffle this deck and we place it here. This becomes our deed deck. Grab the shield tokens we separated earlier. We're going to need these as the game progresses. The other thing we're going to need is the skill description card for our hero. This describes the types of skills that we can learn as we level up during the game. Place this here. For now, we take our figure and we place it here. Finally, we can take the skill tokens themselves. We need to shuffle them and place them face down in our player area. For the solo mission, there's one rule you need to remember. Check the skill card description. There's one skill, and it's slightly darker than the others, for Tovak, is called Mana Exploit. What this means is, for a single player, we need to remove this skill token from the game. This is an interactive skill, hence why we don't need it when we're playing solo. We randomise these and place them in our player area. There's one final thing we need to do before we can start playing, and that's to set up the dummy player that was used during solo and cooperative games. Calling it a dummy player is a bit of a misnomer really. In the solo game he's more of a timer, so this allows the game to proceed at a decent pace and adds tension to the game. I found this part of the game really well done, and I wouldn't imagine playing without the dummy player. The other thing, he does contribute some skills. So although this dummy player is not active in the game, when you level up you could potentially learn new skills from the dummy player. So the choice of dummy player is important for that respect. So with that in mind, I would advise taking the skill token description card for the dummy player and placing it with your skill token description card, so you can refer to it if and when you learn any skills from this dummy player. I've chosen Norwas. The last thing you need to do for setting up the dummy player is look at these coloured icons on the bottom. Here we have 2 whites and a green. That means we have to play 2 white and 1 green crystal on the dummy player's hero card for the start of the game. The other thing we must remember to do for the dummy player is remove the interactive skill, in this case Prayer of Weather. So we remove this from the game when we're playing solo. There's one final thing we do and set up before we can start our first turn, and that's to draw 5 cards into our hand. This becomes our hand for the first turn of the game. We're ready to begin round 1. At the first round of the game we've gone through the whole setup, so there's nothing extra special we need to do to start the first round except draw our tactics cards. The solo rules tell us that we always get priority on choosing the tactics. We have these 6 cards. They don't need to be shuffled, you can freely look through them. And all I need to do is choose one of these cards. I'm going to choose Great Start. It says when I take this tactic, I immediately draw 2 cards. And I add these 2 cards to my hand. Now the dummy player gets to choose his tactic. The rules state we just randomly choose this. So I shuffle one and grab one at random. The right moment. The numbers on these tactic cards determines who gets to go first. The player who chose the lowest number gets to go first. So for the next round, I'll get to go first and the dummy player will get to go second. The solo rules also tell us when you've chosen tactics for you and for the dummy player, these are discarded back to the box. You can't choose these same tactics in a subsequent round. Now we've completed the setup and we're ready to start the first turn. Join me next time as we begin Mage Knight, the walkthrough.